Whiskers was not an ordinary cat. He did not like chasing mice. He did not like napping in sunbeams. Whiskers liked the kitchen. The kitchen was full of exciting smells, spicy paprika, aromatic cumin. Whiskers loved them all. He would sniff the spice rack for hours. One day, Whiskers' owner, Mrs. Norris, was making a casserole. Whiskers watched her every move, his little pink nose twitching. She was putting oregano in the casserole. Oregano, Whiskers thought, my favourite. Whiskers could no longer resist. He had to get closer to that oregano. As Mrs. Norris turned around, Whiskers made his move. He jumped onto the counter. Mrs. Norris gasped, "Whiskers, no!" But it was too late. Whiskers had landed right in the casserole dish. He stood there for a moment, covered in tuna, tomatoes and oregano. Then he did something unexpected. He began to pat the mixture with his paws as if he were kneading dough. Mrs. Norris watched in amazement. She had never seen a cat do such a thing. She decided to let Whiskers continue. After all, what harm could he do? Whiskers, meanwhile, was having the time of his life. He mixed and patted the casserole, adding his own special touch. He knew, deep down, that this was going to be a culinary masterpiece. The kitchen became Whiskers' playground. He experimented with different ingredients. He tried making fish cakes. He even attempted a soufflé. There were mishaps, of course, a flour explosion here, a spilled milk ocean there. But there were also triumphs. His salmon mousse was to die for. Mrs. Norris was Whiskers' biggest fan. She encouraged his passion for cooking. She even bought him a tiny chef's hat and apron. Whiskers loved Mrs. Norris very much. He loved cooking for her even more. He purred with delight every time she enjoyed his creations. Word got around about the cat who could cook. People came from all over to taste Whiskers' dishes. Newspapers wrote about him. He even appeared on a cooking show. Whiskers was a natural. He was charming, talented, and he knew how to work the camera. The audience loved him. He became a star. Through it all, Whiskers remained the same loving, playful cat. He might have been a celebrity chef, but to Mrs. Norris, he was just her Whiskers. And every night after the cameras stopped flashing, Whiskers would curl up on Mrs. Norris's lap, purring contentedly. He was living his best life, a culinary genius with a heart full of love.